Hi everybody, welcome to Beyond the Stage. Not long ago, the Beyond the Stage team traveled to Manchester, Tennessee, the home of a man who has forever left his mark on the sound of country music. Dave Thornhill played lead guitar for country legend Loretta Lynn just out from the beginning of her career and is responsible for those unforgettable guitar licks that kicked off and supported most of her recorded and staged performances. We'll meet Dave Thornhill after this on Beyond the Stage. Beyond the Stage is made possible in part by Southern State Community College's Truck Driving Academy, where you can be behind the wheel of a big rig in as soon as 4 weeks. Call 937-393-3431 to find out how. And now, Beyond the Stage. The famous Loretta Lynn licks.
That's a kickoff to You Ain't Wanting to Take
You
My
bet
Man.
it is. Yeah. One's on the way. Yeah.
And
They don't make him like my daddy anymore.
yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, boys and girls, this is the man that created that sound. This is Dave Thornhill, and he so graciously invited us into his home today. And Dave, you played with Loretta Lynn for what, 30 years?
Yeah, well, actually, if you want to consider the years that I was associated with Loretta, I played my first job with her in Columbus, Ohio in 1967. And I played my last job with her in 2017. That's 50 years.
That's 50 years.
Associated with her. Now, I wasn't in her band all that time, but I was with her in a 30-year streak.
Right.
And then I got out of the music business for a while and got into law enforcement. Chased the bad guys till I couldn't do it anymore. And
Did you enjoy that?
which one?
Well, I know that you enjoyed the music.
Yes, yeah.
But the law enforcement.
Well, it's something evolved with me. It all started when I was driving Bush, around President Bush.
Yeah.
And I had to be associated with FBI and Secret Service.
Right.
Every time I went out, they treated me like my grandma was a vicious felon, you know.
Yeah.
Every time they interrogate you and they'd run background checks on you and everything. And so I learned to work real close with Secret Service. And one time when I moved to Lebanon, Tennessee in 2004, in 2000, I was walking through my neighborhood. I called to take my morning walk. Well, this guy seen me walking. He flagged me down, wanted to talk, said, "You new guy in the neighborhood?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, what do you do for a living right now?" And I said, "Well, I tell you, but you won't believe it." I said, "But right now I'm driving George Bush on his campaign, 2004 campaign." And he said, "Won't you get me a picture of George Bush?" I said, "All right, next time I'm out, I'll get you one." So next time we was out, I got him a nice 8x10 photograph of George Bush and took down to him. And he said, "Man, I thought you was pulling my leg." And he said, "I work for the sheriff department." He said, Would you consider being an auxiliary deputy sheriff since your background and everything is cleared?" And I said, "Well, that'd be all right with me." And that's how it evolved. And the next thing you know, 16 years later, I retired from the sheriff's department. Yeah.
Now, your roots go back to Southern Ohio.
Well, not the roots don't go back. I didn't move to Southern Ohio until I was 16 years old.
Oh, I see.
I was born and raised in eastern Kentucky in the coal fields.
Yeah.
I was in a little town called Freeburn, Kentucky, the last county in Kentucky, right on the Virginia and West Virginia border.
Right.
And of course, Loretta was from Van Leer, and she was about 30 miles sort of northeast of where I was born and raised. Of course, as kids, I didn't know her, and of course, my older brothers played music.
Yeah.
And so there was always musical instruments around our house.
Yeah.
And when the war broke out in 41, my two older brothers went to the war, and now me and my 2-year-old twin was left home with these musical instruments.
Oh, yeah.
So for the better part of 4 years, we played. That was our playground, was musical instruments. And so by the time my two older brothers got back, well, me and my brother John was like 5 years old. We could sit down and strum a guitar.
Yeah.
You know, and could play with our older brothers. And so me and John just kept evolving. Of course, my two older brothers got married and got families, and they moved out. Well, me and John just kept right on playing.
Yeah.
Well, when Dad retired from the coal mine, we moved to Otway, Ohio, Southern.
Right.
And that's where we formed little bands and stuff. And so I had a lot of...
And from that, I guess is where indirectly our paths crossed, because actually the year I was born, you had a show on WSRW in Hillsboro with Will Parr.
Yep.
Tell me about that.
Well, I'll show you in a minute this little band. I've still got a picture of the band we put together when we were juniors in high school at Otway.
Right.
And so the two guys that sang in our band, we had a girl and two guys, and then me and my twin brother. And the two guys played rhythm guitar, and I played lead, and John played bass. And the girl, Henrietta Conley, she was a vocalist, a female vocalist. Yeah. And so we played little various shows around, you know, and well, somebody in Hillsboro said, why don't you guys get a hold of the station in Hillsboro and maybe get a little radio show on Saturday?
Yeah.
So that's what we done, and made friends with Willard Parr. And next thing you know, we got a little 30-minute radio show on Hillsboro.
Anybody who ever met Willard and made friends with Willard had a friend forever.
Oh, yeah.
It was incredible, and he never forgot a thing about you.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, but see, after we played there, that little radio show in Hillsboro, my dad moved to Williamson, West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And, he first moved to Saudeville for a little while, then moved to Williamson, West Virginia, where the miners' hospital was.
Yeah.
Because my mom and dad were getting a little old, and they need medical help.
Right.
And the miners' hospital was free for any retired coal miner.
Oh, yeah, you can't beat that, yeah.
But then when we moved to Portsmouth, or Saudeville, Portsmouth, me and brother John met a couple of brothers, Junior and Bob Lawson, and we started playing in a club 6 nights a week, 7 nights a week sometimes.
That'll wear you out.
Seniors in high school.
Yeah.
So now, and I played baseball in school, and it was kind of hard to play music till 2 o'clock in the morning, then get up and go to school and pitch a baseball game the next
I know.
day. Sometimes I've seen 2 baseballs leave my hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, it was during that time then we just kept playing, and our band got a little better and a little more reputation, and we landed a job at Columbus at the Frontier Ranch as staff band. So that's really what broke everything open for us, is when we were staff band at Frontier Ranch, because our job was to back artists that didn't have bands. And so during that 3-year period, we backed maybe 40 different artists.
Really? Who all came through during that time that you backed?
Well, hey, Tammy Wynette, Loretta Lynn, you know, George Jones, Jim Ed Brown, little Jimmy Dickens. The list just goes on. You know, just about everybody that didn't have a band, we were their band at that show.
So how did it come to pass that Loretta and you formed a union?
Okay.
And you went to work for her?
Yes, it happened at the Frontier Ranch. In '67, Loretta didn't have a band. Loretta didn't put a band together till '68. And she had some unique people in that band in '68. I'll tell you a little about it. But we were to back Loretta up that Sunday afternoon. So I would make a point with our band, since I was the band leader. Don't matter who we backed up, I would go out and buy their records out of my pocket.
Yeah.
And we
yeah.
would rehearse a couple of days before we played. We would rehearse at my house, and we would learn their stuff. No charts back then, no music scores or anything. It was all ear and memory. And so, same way when Loretta's come in. At that time, she had about maybe 8 releases,
Yeah.
but they were big. You know, You Ain't Warm Enough to Take My Man, Fifth City, Don't Come Home a Drinking. You know,
Yeah.
big hits. And so we learned all them songs just like the record. And that's one thing, as band leader, I wanted to play the commercial music exactly the way people heard it.
Right.
Because you can't improve on a classic.
That's
Don't
right.
matter what you do, you can't improve.
That's right.
And so anyway, when it's time to play for Loretta, our band's on stage, but Loretta hadn't showed up yet. And so our promoters keeps, this old sign, stretch it out, Willard Park, stretch it out.
Yeah.
Make it last another 30 seconds. And so we played about maybe 45 minutes more than we supposed to. Well, I looked out, and here comes this Cadillac across this farmland where the ranch was, and it was Loretta and Mooney, and they were running late.
Yeah.
So they introduced Loretta quick as she got out of the car. She got dressed in a car like the movie told about it. She put her Western clothes on and all that. Well, as she come on stage, I just reached out and stopped her. I said, we know all your songs in the right key, in the right arrangement. Well, she just run up to the microphone and turned around and pointed to me and said, You Ain't Warm Enough to Take My Man. I kicked it off like I did a minute ago.
Yeah.
I kicked the song off. Then she said, Fifth City. Played Fifth City. Then she said, Don't Come Home a Drinking with Lovin' on Your Mind. Bob kicked that off. And so after about 3 songs, Loretta says, Well, I'll swear, I've played all over this world, and I've never seen a band that knows my stuff, not songs, my stuff.
How about
that
that?
knows my stuff like this band does. And said, if I could ever afford a band, this is the band I want.
Yeah.
Well, 2 years later, all 5 men was in her band.
Oh my.
So,
Oh my.
yeah.
And this is a tenure that stretched out 30 years.
Yeah, with me, yeah. Because my brother played about 4 years. He left the band and went into missionary work. And Ken Riley, who was our drummer, Ken Riley was in the movie Coal Miner's Daughter. He's the one who led Sissy Spacek around, by the hand.
Right.
As a matter of fact, the Coal Miners was in the movie. The original band and everything was in the movie.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a speaking part in it.
Yeah. You're a movie star.
Well,
You're an actor.
I still get royalties off of that from 1980.
Do you really?
I get a check about 2-3 times a year for $28.
Well, it's that much.
Yeah, I tell my wife, I say, our financial woes is over. I just got a big movie rerun check, $28.
Oh my goodness.
But then, as the band members would quit, I was the band leader.
Right.
I was just sort of evolved in that job of Loretta's band leader,
Right.
And anytime we need somebody, she said, well, honey, you go out and find somebody.
Yeah,
And she'd leave it up to me. And so, and most generally, I would hire guys that I had played with before that
Sure.
I knew would be capable
Right.
of doing the job. So that's
Let's fast forward ahead to a project you're working on now, because everything that happened back then is the premise for what you're doing now. Tell me about Always Loretta.
Okay. About 2.5 years ago, of course, all the guys at the original coal mine, they're all scattered out doing other things,
Right.
except Bob Hemper, our steel player. He was working for Roy Clark.
Oh.
And so all the rest of the guys were scattered out doing different works and stuff. Well, one of the guys called me, the drummer, John Brown, called me and said, Dave, just for old time's sake, let's put a reunion jam session back together and just reminisce.
Yeah.
Play some Loretta Lynn music and stuff. So I called everybody, and they agreed to come here in Manchester. And we were going to invite a few friends to come to my house and sit around and while we had a little jam session. Well, when the word got around that the original coal miners was having a jam session, I had people from 3 states wanting to come to the jam session.
I'll bet.
So I can't get 500 people in my little studio.
Yeah.
And so I rented a theater here in Manchester.
Is that right?
And we had our jam session and filled the theater up
Oh my.
of fans, from 3 or 4 states away that would come to the show.
Yeah.
Well, during this time, I told the guys, I said, we had several singers that we'd played with down through the years. We invited them and they showed up. I said, we need a girl singer that does nothing but Loretta music. I said, that's because that's what we'll be doing.
Right.
And so I had seen Emily Portman on some of the Legends shows from Pigeon Forge doing Loretta. And I was really impressed with what she done. And so she lives in Litchfield, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And so I got a hold of Emily and told her who I was, band leader for Loretta. Well, she knew all that stuff because she'd researched Loretta's career. And I asked her if she'd be interested in coming to Manchester and just sit in with the band and do some Loretta's songs. And she about done a backflip on the phone. Said, oh yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
So anyway, Emily come in. We saved her for last. And when she got on stage, we played an hour of Loretta Lynn music and right keys and right arrangements and everything, just like we always done.
Yeah.
And so it clicked so good. Everybody had such a good time. I told Emily, I said, Emily, would you be interested if I could get all this original band together and go out and do a few shows? And she said, oh yeah, I'd love to do that. Well, meanwhile, like I said, in 2017, Loretta played her last gig because she had a stroke and broke a hip after that, and she didn't sing anymore. And so about 3 weeks before Loretta passed, Patsy, one of the twin daughters, Patsy called me. I was at the sheriff's office. And she said, Mama wants to see you. We all called her Mama from day one. Mama. Said, Mama wants to see you. And said, you better get down here. Let me mute my TV. And so I called Bob Hemker, the steel player. Well, Ken Riley's got a daughter that lives in Nashville. Ken happened to be down visiting his daughter. So I called Ken. I said, Ken, me and Bob's going to take a trip down to the ranch and visit Loretta. She wants to see us. And Ken said, well, sure, I'll go with you. So the 3 of us went down to the ranch. Well, you got to remember now, Loretta's 90 years old.
Yes.
And she's not the Loretta we knew, but her mind was 110%. I mean, brilliant. And so when we walked in her house, she looked up and said, there's my boys, And so we all hugged and we sat with her for about 3 hours and relived old war stories that happened to us 45 years ago.
Yeah.
And she remembered them just like they was yesterday.
Right.
We just had a grand time telling old stories that we hadn't even thought of for years and years and years. And I told Loretta, I said, Loretta, I said, the band has got together, the original band's got together with Emily Portman. And she said, oh, I know Emily. Said, I just love that little girl or something like that. I said, since you're not singing anymore, I said, we're going to keep your music going as long as we can. We're going to go out and play some shows, not tribute shows, but honor shows. That's what we call it.
Yeah.
Honor shows, honoring Loretta Lynn. And Loretta said, well, I'll tell you one thing. You better be rehearsing my show. I'm getting ready to go back on the road. Of course, we knew that wasn't going to happen, but anyway, Loretta gave us her blessings, you know, to do what we were going to do.
Yeah.
And so we said our goodbyes, and we all knew that was the last time we'd probably see her, and it was.
Yeah, that was sad.
Yeah, and
That was
so
very sad.
shortly after that, when we all got together, and some of the people in Nashville, some business people in Nashville, found out that they're putting the original band with Emily Portman, who had done Loretta on several shows, including the Conway Twitty tribute show.
Right.
Emily traveled with them for about 3 years doing Loretta Lynn. They auditioned like 1,000 girls
Wow.
to do Loretta, and Emily got the part.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so they looked hard and long to find a perfect Loretta for Conway's show. And
Right.
so Emily just sort of evolved from that to us. And so when some of these booking agencies and promoters and stuff found out about it, next thing you know, we're getting phone calls.
Yeah.
Can you come here? Can you come there? And so,
So you're pretty busy with it now.
yeah, we're busy with it. So,
How does it feel after all these years to be back on the road again?
well, I tell you what, it's almost like a kid with a new toy at Christmas, you know. Even though, like when I played you that intro of You Ain't Warm Enough,
Yeah.
man, I have played that maybe 10,000 times, just like
I'll bet you
done.
have, yeah.
I've done that 10,000
That's
times.
beautiful.
But don't matter if you've done it 10,000 times or 10 times, you still have to physically do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
so it's not like I can just fall out of bed and that comes natural.
Yeah.
I still got to think and make everything work and make it come out.
Right.
And so it's just refreshing, you know, to go out and do it. Now the thing of it is, I don't have to answer to Loretta. I'm
Yeah.
my own boss. So
And that's got to feel good.
yeah.
Do me a favor and favor the backstage, beyond the stage viewers with some music of Dave Thornhill.
Well-
Just play one of your favorites. Well, Dave Thornhill is alive and well and still kicking and picking in Manchester, Tennessee. And man, it's good to see you.
Well, thank you very much.
I have
Yeah.
heard so much about you through the years, and it just happened one night in a flash overnight. I saw you on Facebook, and we hooked up, and it was funny. As we were on our way down, Dave was on the phone with Dennis McCall
Yeah.
to make sure that we were for real.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis said, "Oh yeah, they're the real deal," you know. And of course, Dennis and Daryl, you
Yeah.
know, go back to them same days in Hillsboro. And Daryl is still in Texas doing what I'm doing. He's my age, so
Oh,
he can't tell
yeah,
nobody
yeah,
how
yeah.
old he is.
Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah,
He loves
yeah.
it.
We were all 17 years old when all this stuff was happening
Yeah.
in Hillsboro.
Feels like 17 again, doesn't it?
Well, I tell everybody, your mind is eternal.
Yeah.
The Bible says the mind is eternal.
That's right.
The outer body grows old,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
the mind is eternal.
Yeah.
So the mind is still 17 years old.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But, you know, my mind has worn out about 3 bodies. So,
I know what you're saying.
it was my pleasure.
Oh,
Thank you so much for inviting us into your
well,
home
sure thing.
and sharing with our audience. And I'll let you know when it's up and running. And the show is called Beyond the Stage.
All right, the next time we're up in Ohio, you guys need to come out and I'll get you comp tickets. How's that?
There you go. I'll be on the front row, even if I have to
Absolutely.
fight the cops.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, Dave, thank you. Thank you for watching Beyond the Stage. Thanks for watching Beyond the Stage. If you enjoy what you see here, please click like at the bottom of your screen and subscribe to my channel. For more of your favorite country music and the men and women who make it great, I hope you'll visit us often here on Beyond the Stage.